Now I want to start this video by revealing something I said to a few of my friends prior to this game tonight in terms of what I wanted to see most from Liverpool, and that was an improved performance. I said even if the result didn't go Liverpool's way, even if they got an unlucky draw, an unlucky defeat, even where two deflected goals from absolutely nowhere, a ball going in off someone's backside for Villa to win it late on, I think the most important thing we needed to see was Liverpool putting together a performance that you could hang your hat on, really, because you know, sometimes in football you can be unlucky, sometimes things don't really go for you, but if you keep doing certain aspects of the game consistently well over a 10-game period, you will win an awful lot more than you lose, and you will, if you keep doing that over 10-game periods, that will build into a very good season, and a season where perhaps you can put yourself in contention to win things. And so I felt like, you know, even if Liverpool were to win today, and people might say, well, you just needed to get the result, you needed to get some confidence, I don't think a lucky win would have done anything for Liverpool tonight at all. I mean, we saw even a very, very good win against Eintracht Frankfurt. You know, you might have thought, well, that'll give them confidence, they'll take this forward, they're going to perform brilliantly from now on. But that wasn't the case, because the underlying aspects of the performance weren't necessarily there, or they couldn't be repeated. They could be done in a Champions League game against Eintracht Frankfurt, but they couldn't bring that to the Brentford game, could they? They couldn't show that consistency. And so I think that's kind of why Arne Slot selected the team he did in the League Cup as well, because, you know, so much pressure to, oh, he's got to get a result, he can't throw away that game. But he made a brave decision, as I said in that game, which was to say, okay, this game has come at the wrong time for us, we've got some injuries, we've got to mix it up. But what I need most is for Liverpool to show good performance in the Aston Villa game, the Real Madrid game and the Manchester City game, and they are the games that can turn our season. And so this almost felt like a perfect night for Arne Slot, because not only did he get the result, I think he got the performance as well, and he will be really, really pleased with that. I mean, firstly, what I want to say is it was a deserved 2-0 win for Liverpool over Aston Villa. 16 shots to 10, 4 shots on target to 3, which is close-ish, but you look at the expected goals and it's 1.09 to 0.31, and 3 big chances for Liverpool to 0 for Aston Villa. And I think the aspect of the performance I liked the most, in terms of, and I like the performance in general, but what I liked most was the control that Liverpool exhibited. I mean, you look at those statistics really, and they're not absolutely mind-blowing in Liverpool's favour, are they? I think there's, you know, I've seen wins where they've been more convincing in the underlying statistics and of course the scoreline itself. But last season, I think back to when Liverpool were at the best, they just did what was needed in certain moments of the game. Game state became massive for them, so if you were in a lead, they would protect it in a certain way. If they were behind, they would create an awful lot of expected goals, and you know, game state was massive for how this team played. And what I saw tonight really was the return of that really, and it's the thing that has convinced me most about this performance, and the thing I think Liverpool will, and Arne Slot in particular, will be most pleased about really, because they got to 2-0 having, you know, they'd taken more shots than Aston Villa. They got an expected goals lead that showed that they pretty much maybe deserved a 2-0 lead in terms of the balance of the chances. And then what happened after that was absolutely nothing really. I mean, you look at the numbers in the second half, 0.19 expected goals for Liverpool, so, you know, that's fine if you're leading 2-0, you can see that out. 0.15 for Aston Villa, and that is an Aston Villa side that was, they were getting more on the ball late in the second half, they were pushing, they were throwing people forward, they were using all the substitutes, and they just couldn't lay a glove on Liverpool. Liverpool turned that into, and Dan Kennett, who is a Liverpool supporter who writes about the Reds, he describes that as garbage time. When you're 2-0 up late in games, just make nothing happen. And I really like that description, and I think that's what Liverpool did tonight. It was just the return of that control. They'd done enough, they got the expected goals up, they got the shots. You look at the shot maps from the game up to the point that Liverpool are leading it, and it looks really good in their favour. I said after the first half against someone who was here that, look, if you repeat that first half, and they were only 1-0 up at the time, but if you repeat that, then that is exactly how you go about winning football games, which is basically creating chances for yourself and not giving any up to the opposition. And what Liverpool did is they repeated that up until the point they were 2-0, and then they just killed the game completely with that control. And I think that, as I say, is kind of the thing that most encourages me about this, because if Liverpool had been really poor, Villa had torn them to shreds, and Liverpool had somehow nicked a last minute winner, I don't think I would have been talking, well, I'm telling you, I wouldn't have been talking positively on this video now, because it's all about process, it's all about the foundations that you give yourselves, and I think Liverpool gave themselves a very good foundation tonight. I thought up until 2-0 they were very much in control of the game, they were creating far more than Villa, and bossing it for pretty much, and then after that, like I say, killed it stone dead and did not give up chances, and that is what a very, very good football team does. It's what Liverpool did last season, and it's the thing that just fills me with hope that this can be a real turning point for them, because I think it was everything. It was the result and the performance that has been sorely lacking at times this season. Liverpool have had games where they've had the result, they've had games maybe where they've had some aspects of the performance, but this was everything. The entire 90 minutes, exactly what you want in terms of the level of performance, and they got the result to match at the end. So I think Arne Slot will be in that dressing room absolutely delighted with his players and what they've delivered. Now, I will sound one small note of caution. You do have to say that they were slightly helped in what they wanted to do tonight by Aston Villa's tactics. I mean, it's telling, isn't it? We haven't seen many teams pass the ball out from the back in the way that Aston Villa did tonight. We haven't seen that for a long time this season, because, look, I think Liverpool underline why, because he'd be absolutely stupid to try it. It's 2 goals that come from pressing situations, and I've heard, in Liverpool's recent run, a lot of people saying, well, where's Liverpool's press gone? What are the tactics? Why is that completely died off? The manager isn't coaching them correctly. Well, you can't really press anyone, can you, if they are just taking the ball at centre half and launching it up the pitch? There's nothing to press there, really. Whereas Villa actually tried to play out from the back. Liverpool penned them in, got them in really difficult situations, and forced the mistakes brilliantly. Now, it's a shame Liverpool haven't faced a lot of that tactic recently. It would have made things easier for them, and I have to say, a bit of a mistake from Unai Emery to try that here, because it really played into Liverpool's hands, particularly when you consider they've been up against so many long balls recently and struggled up against those tactics. But I think the good news is that that Aston Villa do that, and Liverpool pressed and looked really good, and he looked sharp and looked back to them old selves. We also know that Real Madrid and Manchester City, can't really imagine those two teams going long particularly. Maybe City will try and hit Erling Haaland, but it's not very Real Madrid, is it, to come here and go long. So I wonder whether they will pass it out from the back and give Liverpool the chance to look a little bit like them old selves again, because they definitely did tonight. And of course, it doesn't necessarily answer the questions about the physicality, the long balls, but not every team in the Premier League is an absolute specialist at that. So maybe that will help Liverpool to kind of turn the corner a bit, is have a few of those. And I actually think when Villa did go long, and they did occasionally try and mix it up and try and get in behind and go a bit more direct, I thought Liverpool dealt with that aspect quite well. Now, whether they can deal with it for 95 minutes against a Brentford or any other really direct teams in this league, we have to see. But I think they mixed it up and dealt with kind of both aspects of the game really well today, and we're really happy to see Villa trying to play out from the back, because that was kind of, it was meat and drink for them, really, wasn't it? They were absolutely delighted to have something to press for once, and they absolutely made the most of it. So credit to the players and the manager for that. Now, of course, Liverpool returned to form tonight, and I think it's worth mentioning that there was a couple of players who I think they themselves returned to form and therefore made Liverpool a better team. And I think the first of those I want to talk about is Alexis McAllister. Now, we've been waiting all season for a performance like this from him, haven't we, really? It's he's just really struggled off the back of that pre-season. He missed so much football, he's had that injury, and the problem is when you get a player like that, you've got to play them back into form, you've got to play them back into fitness. But then, of course, you've got to also then put up with the fact that they are not performing particularly well, and that makes it really, really difficult. But thankfully, I thought back to his best tonight. I thought he was fantastic. I mean, he gets an assist, some really, and that was, some of those really cute exchanges in midfield. He was definitely part of. Pass accuracy of 94%, so barely gave it away. 3 chances created, 5 out of 8 ground duels won, so just great on both sides of the ball. But that is Alexis McAllister, isn't it, as well? He is great on both sides of the ball. He gives you, so much defensive solidity in that central midfield. He also charges around winning second balls, but he's also got composure and quality when he gets hold of the ball as well, and we saw that. And those second balls in particular, I said that Villa did go direct from time to time, not as much as other sides have done against Liverpool recently, but he was there to win second balls, and it's something Liverpool haven't been particularly great at recently in some of these defeats. You know, I think particularly the United game here, I really think about, could have been so much better from second balls, and I think a fit and firing Alexis McAllister is absolutely key to that. And as I say, I thought really good whenever he did get the ball as well, then really sensible, moving it around quickly, some cute little passes and exchanges. And the fact is, for me, he was Liverpool's best midfielder last season. It's just massively needed to get him back to his best. I think Curtis Jones has got a role to play, of course. I think Florian Wirtz can get in that midfield as well, but Alexis McAllister, he's utterly crucial really, and it was so important and good, and again something that makes you think there's a foundation there for Liverpool to take forward, the fact that he played so well tonight. And I do also have to say, I thought Gravenberch and Szoboszlai were phenomenal themselves as well. I mean, that midfield unit, we forget how well that worked last season, and you know, people kind of writing McAllister off, but those three together are just absolutely superb. I thought Gravenberch, he wins 5 out of 7 ground duels, he's getting everywhere, and he obviously gets forward to score the goal as well. So those little rotations that Slot has been criticised for in midfield, it certainly worked for Liverpool tonight, didn't it? I thought the three of them were so disciplined together. And then Szoboszlai, the energy he gives you in the press, he led Liverpool's press again tonight, and he's the man who's charging down. And there's a moment in the second half where he gets up to support a charge up the pitch as well, and you just think this guy's probably got 3 lungs. It's unbelievable energy that it shows, and I just think the three of those, such a good mix together: intelligence, energy, brilliance with the ball at their feet, and they can all score goals as well. So it's a really good midfield mix, and I think the manager, with the games that are coming up now, Real Madrid and Manchester City, can he really afford to go away from that trio? Does he need to keep them together? And maybe that means Florian Wirtz coming in off the left in some of the games. We'll have to see what he does in terms of that, but it's an interesting one because McAllister coming back to form has given him a big decision, and the fact that Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are basically undroppable for me. You know, does that have to be the midfield three going forward? We're really interested to see what the manager does from there. And of course, it wasn't just Alexis McAllister who returned to form tonight. I also thought Mohamed Salah was fantastic as well. And the thing is, you know, you read so many comments, and I have over the last few games when he has been playing poorly, and people say, you know, he's got to be dropped, he's got to be left out. But when you're a manager like Arne Slot, you can see why it's so difficult to leave him out, because he's given you everything last season. He's been the best player in the Premier League last season, arguably up there as the best player in the world. And you know, you take the decision to drop him, you don't give him the chance to do what he did tonight, which was just roar back to life and look absolutely like his old self. Now, like I say, he can't do that when he's on the bench, and sometimes, you know, football's not an exact science where you can predict when someone's going to come back into form like that. And you know, sometimes you just have to keep trying it till it works, or sometimes you pull them out and they come off the bench and they do really well. And it's just impossible to kind of pick out when that's going to happen. But I really do think he was back to his best tonight. I mean, the goal is a bit of a gift, isn't it? But of course he finishes it off, which is fantastic. But he completes 4 dribbles, 7 out of 13 ground duels, won 3 shots, and some unbelievable touches from crossfield balls that he's been given in really difficult situations. Takes them down, some great dribbling to kind of get away and get Liverpool out of tight areas. He was just so useful, and a bit of work rate as well, which, you know, some people have criticised him for, but you know, he was back in terms of that today as well. And I thought a really good performance. And you just have to ask, why are people sometimes so eager to write a player like that off who's given so much? I mean, that was his 250th goal for Liverpool this evening, which is, you know, only Roger Hunt and Ian Rush, who, wow, they were pretty good players, weren't they, for Liverpool? Only they have scored more for Liverpool Football Club than Mo Salah. Now, can you imagine saying that when he was just about to sign for the club, that he would put himself in that company? I don't think many people would have believed you, would they? So it just shows you what an unbelievable footballer he is, and why you should, you know, why it's hard for the manager to leave him out of the team for too long, because you always know that performance is going to come eventually. Of course, he has to back it up now. Real Madrid coming, Manchester City, you know, he has to keep putting these performances in and get back to the consistency that we saw last season. But you really wouldn't get bet against it, would you, when we're talking about Mohamed Salah, a guy who I say is in the company of Roger Hunt and Ian Rush. It's pretty unbelievable what he's done for this club so far, and actually for kind of along similar lines really in terms of writing people off. I do also want to mention that, you know, I've seen a few comments on YouTube, we got it on social media a lot, about kind of, you know, criticism of Arne Slot, and I think there's been some deserved criticism in terms of how this season's gone so far, some of the selections, the things that have not been working out for him. But I got asked the question of kind of why are you not getting stuck into them a little bit more? And the fact is, I think when you cover a club like Liverpool, this is still, at the moment, it's difficult at the moment. Liverpool have not been in great form, but this is still a bit of a golden era when you think of the squad and the quality Liverpool have got. And I think back to the Roy Hodgson era, which was not very long ago at all. I think back to the 90s when I was a little bit younger, watching that team, and a team that didn't really challenge for the major honours anymore. And you just kind of think, you've got to give yourself, as a journalist who covers this club, a little bit of room to wiggle. If I go over the top on what's happened with Liverpool, if I go over the top on the manager, where am I going to go if things really do go sour? And there's no doubt there's pressure on him coming into this match, but you can't go over the top about it. I think some people wanted me to kind of call for the manager's head, but I think he's proven tonight that there've been some mitigating factors have gone against him recently, but I think he showed tonight he's not lost all his tactical nous. This team is playing for him, and he's still got ability as a manager. So, you've just got to give him a little bit of time and a little bit of grace with everything he's dealt with, the turnover, the Jota situation, the fact they've had few injuries this season as well, and some players have, pre-seasons have been disrupted for the likes of Conor Bradley, for Joe Gomez, who's not played very much to be fair, but Alexis McAllister as well. So he's had a few issues to deal with, and I think tonight was a real reminder, look, this is a brilliant manager, and this can be a brilliant football team with him at the helm. So, maybe don't go too far, not least because Liverpool are now back up to third in the Premier League already. They started the day in ninth and they're level with second on points. And yes, I get that Arsenal are driving away into the distance, but, things are coming together for them a little bit, and they may be going against Liverpool a little bit, but Liverpool just need to stick with it. And as I say, they just need to keep giving themselves the foundation, to need putting these performances in now, because this is one of the better performances of the season. And if they do that, they call those calls for Arne Slot's head, some of the kind of dramatic takes that we've been maybe seeing on YouTube and elsewhere, they might end up looking a little bit silly by the end of the season, or certainly that's my hope, and I'm sure the hope of everyone who's watching. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm sure everybody's feeling a little bit better after that one, certainly better than we've seen for a long time for Liverpool after this wretched recent run. Hopefully that can be a foundation to better things, and of course it's a big week, this one, isn't it? It's Real Madrid coming up next, which is a great fixture to look forward to, and then Manchester City after that. So in the meantime, if you can like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss the videos around those games, and of course do let me know your thoughts on the game, the man of the match, all those things in the comments. I mean, some players I missed off there I should have praised, but it's just a really excellent performance tonight, so I'm sure you'll all be happy and you'll all have plenty to say as well. So as I say, if you can like, you can subscribe, I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys very soon.